A new Squishmallow friend today. Her name's Sherpa. That's what I've named her. I don't remember what her tag name is. I never remember Squishmallow tag names, but I've dubbed her Sherpa. You're sideways. Okay. Beautiful. Hi everybody, my name is Allie. If you're new here, hello. If you're returning, welcome back. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Gold star for you this week. So, usually when I have friends that are asking me for like new book recommendations, or you guys that subscribe to me that ask me for book recommendations, usually my first question to people asking for recommendations, what are things they like in books, their favorite tropes, things they like to see? Are they an enemies to lovers person? Are they a friends to lovers person? Are they a forced proximity person? I am most of those people, but there are things, tropes specifically in books that I am not a fan of. I wouldn't be the person to recommend you those types of books if I don't like those tropes. So I figured for you guys to get to know me a little bit more and kind of see what books I will most likely be recommending and which ones I won't most likely be recommending, I would do a tier list of all of the book tropes that I could think of. There might be like obviously like more, because there's bigger tropes like enemies to lovers, and then there's smaller tropes like fantasy books like cool prints with like knife stuff. I feel like that's a smaller trope, so there's a million of them. You can make anything a trope, honestly. But I have compiled a fairly big list of tropes that I am going to rank to see what exactly it is I do and don't like, and for you guys to get to know what I do and don't like. So yeah, let's get right into it. Our tiers are a God tier, like if this is a book, I will love it. My favorites, live 'em, laugh 'em, love 'em. And then I have which like I like, but isn't necessarily my favorite. And sometimes it might even be a trope that I'm like embarrassed that I like people might judge me about it. And then we have cute, I guess, which is like, it's all right. I'll read it. It's kind of a neutral. I don't hate it. I don't necessarily love it. It's there. Cool. Then we have no, it's like, if it's there and maybe it's one of the weird little sub-tropes, I still might enjoy the story, but it's not necessarily something I'll go out of my way and necessarily like look for that specific trope. If it's there, it's kind of there by, there's a bug, Jesus Christ. If it's there, it might just kind of like be there by surprise, and it's like, it didn't ruin the book, but you know, it might not be a 5-star book for me. And then just straight up no. The tropes that I want nothing to do with. It'll probably ruin a book for me if I didn't know that trope was in there, or if I knew that trope was there ahead of time, I probably never read the book to begin with. Tropes that I have acquired are fake dating, someone makes a bet, characters strike a deal, marriage of convenience, forbidden love, forced proximity, forced proximity, childhood friends to lovers, paranormal, Jesus Christ, paranormal romance, love at first sight, betrayal, rags to riches, enemies to lovers, I have powers, tragic backstory, friends to lovers, unplanned pregnancy, brother's best friend, best friend's brother, second chance, love triangle, reverse harem, villain to lover, insta love, childhood friends to enemies to lovers, right person, wrong time, slow burn, soulmates, amnesia, friends with benefits, opposites attract, similarities attract, converts the bad boy, bad girl, incest, because unfortunately that is a trope. I think you already know where I'm gonna put that one from that initial reaction. Unrequited love, age gap, and secret identity. So I figured we will just start right off the bat. Fake dating, it's a God tier. It's a classic. It's one of my favorites. I don't think I've ever read a fake dating book that I didn't like. I've always been a fan of them. It's one of the best. Someone makes a bet. I like it. It's not necessarily my favorite. I've read a lot of books that have this in it. I think the most recent one that I read, it's not the best. It's just the first one that's coming to my mind because it's one of my more recent reads, is Good Girl Complex. The main character, Mac, she comes from a rich family and she's going off to college, and one of the local boys, Connor, makes a bet that he... Excuse you, motorcycle man, God. But he makes a bet that he could like make Mac fall in love with him and it'd be super easy, so he has like this bet going on with his friend. So that's kind of what that one is. That's okay. I'll read it. I don't necessarily go out of my way to find it, but I enjoy it. It usually is pretty good. I think my favorite movie with that trope, and probably like the best known example outside of books, is like 10 Things I Hate About You with Heath Ledger. That's kind of like what this whole thing is, and I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. This is a video about books, but if it was a video about movies, that movie would make it God tier, but in books, it's a tier below. Moving on. Characters strike a deal. It's cute, I guess. I feel like that's kind of like a sub-trope, because I feel like characters make a deal could be fake dating at the same time. Like books like To All the Boys I've Loved Before, it's fake dating, but like they make a deal to fake date for this thing. Like I feel like that's kind of a trope that can get lost inside other tropes. So it's not necessarily one that like sticks out to me, but I don't hate it. I have nothing against it, I guess. Marriage of Convenience, God tier, live it, laugh it, love it. I am a big Marriage of Convenience fan. I think the most recent Marriage of Convenience that I read, the most recent Marriage of Convenience I read was Electric Idol. It's a Greek retelling. It was very good. I picked it up for the smut and I stayed for the plot. It was great. Solidified my love for Marriage of Convenience. So then we have Forbidden Love. I'm gonna say, because it depends on the context. A lot of times it's forbidden love because it's a brother's best friend situation. Like again, this is kind of like a sub-trope, but there is like forbidden love in cases that like, in reality, it would be weird. Like some sort of weird like stepbrother situation. I forget what the first book was. I believe it was The Truth About Heartbreak, where I read the first book and I loved it. And the only reason I didn't read the second one was because, to my understanding, it was the girl from the first book, I can't remember her name, her brother ends up falling in love with her adopted daughter. It's like a step uncle falling in love with his step niece. And like, that seemed weird to me. Like that seems like, and it was labeled as like a forbidden love book. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't have any interest in reading that. So I didn't read the rest of the series because that turned me off. It like, in situations like that, it would be a straight up no, but then there are just like instances in the context of like a best friend situation where it's cute. So I'm gonna put it there. Honestly, I've convinced myself that it's too much of a 50-50 chance and I'm moving it to cute, I guess. Forced Proximity, God tier, you can't go wrong with it. It's great. Most fantasy books have forced proximity in it, and a lot of it kind of goes along with like one bed trope. It's great. Love it. Childhood friends to lovers. I like it. Sometimes it can be too cheesy for me. I feel like a lot of like the friends to lovers that I've read, it's just kind of like we're both in love with each other, but we don't tell each other. Like I feel like there's not enough like angst and pining for me sometimes in friends to lovers. I have nothing against it, but I don't think that I've like necessarily 5-starred that many friends to lovers books. Paranormal Romance. I'm kind of stuck in between cute, I guess, and no, because the only one that I can, like paranormal romance that I can think of is Layla by Colleen Hoover, and I only like 3-starred that book because it just seemed very simple to me, and that's just the only paranormal romance that I've read. It didn't necessarily make me hate that trope, but I don't know if it's something that, like, I don't know if I would just go out of my way to read a paranormal romance. I don't know if it's my thing. So I'm gonna go with no. Like, it's not a hard no. If something happened and I read it, I would be open to it, but I don't think as of right now I'd go out of my way to read it. I think I've convinced myself for no. Love at First Sight. Cute, I guess. Again, it depends on the context. There are some instances where it's like love at first sight, but they're pining for most of the book. And then there's love at first sight where it's insta love, and insta love is a no for me, which I think is coming up soon, so you already know where that's gonna go. So I think it depends. So I'm gonna put that in cute, I guess. Betrayal. I'm trying to think of, I feel like, again, betrayal is like a sub-trope. I'm trying to think of a book, like I'm taking into sense like the Red Queen series. There's a lot of back and forth to that. And there is like a big betrayal thing in it. In my opinion, the characters that betrayed each other weren't necessarily like the endgame love interest at the end. I'm gonna go with no. I think it's another thing where it's like, I don't know if I've necessarily exposed myself to that trope enough to make a hard decision. So it's not a hard stop. If it happens, it would happen and I'd be open. I think that's what we're gonna go with. Rags to Riches. I like it. It's cute. I feel like that's kind of a general fantasy thing where it's like, or even romance where it's like, in romance books where like the girl that's struggling financially falls in love with the billionaire, or with fantasy, it's the starving pauper falls in love with the prince. Like, I think it's that kind of like general idea, and it's more of a sub-trope to me, but I enjoy it. I think there's other tropes mixed in with that make a book 5-star. I don't think it can just be rags to riches on its own that's a 5-star for me, but I do enjoy it, so I think it goes in. Enemies to lovers is God tier. We all know this. We all agree on that. There's no reason for me to explain. I have powers. I'm gonna go with a Again, I feel like that's a sub-trope, but it's a good sub-trope. Again, I think it can kind of depend on context, but I feel like for the most part, I've had more positive experiences with that trope than I have negative. So I'm gonna go there. Tragic backstory. Cute, I guess. I think it's another kind of depends. I think a lot of tragic backstory applies to Colleen Hoover. Most of Colleen Hoover's books you should track trigger warnings for, but a lot of her characters have some sort of tragic backstory. I feel like the biggest one for this specifically that's coming out to me is something like Ugly Love. That definitely has a tragic backstory accident, and she definitely has others, and I think it just kind of depends on how it's written. So I'm gonna go with cute, I guess, because it doesn't turn me off. It's not like if I read a book and there's a character that has gone through some hard things and I'm like, I don't want to read it, because I feel like a lot of times the tragic backstory makes stuff more relatable. I think it just has to be written well. Friends to lovers. I'm gonna put it right up here with childhood friends to lovers. It depends on how it's written. Sometimes it's insta-lovey and there's not enough pining for my personal taste. Sometimes it's great. So we're gonna put it right there with childhood friends. Unplanned pregnancy, nope. I am not a pregnancy trope person. I have read books with pregnancy trope in it and like I finished them, but I don't think I've ever 5-starred a book with a pregnancy trope. And a lot of times for me, it's like the pregnancy trope is either at the very beginning, so I immediately DNF it, or it's at the very end. So I've already read the whole book and connected with these characters for other reasons. And then I'm like, God damn it, you ruined it by making it a pregnancy thing. But if I know straight off the bat that this is a pregnancy trope book, instantly hard no, not interested in it. I'm not a fan of it. I will not be the person giving you those recommendations because I don't read it by choice. I read it by accident. Brother's Best Friend, God tier. It's a classic. It's what most romance books are. It's what some of the best romance books are, along with Best Friend's Brother. I love them. I feel like that's what most of my romance shelf is those two tropes, because they're great. It's hard to go wrong with them. They're amazing. Second chance romance, I'm gonna put in I think it depends on how it's written. If it's something like You Deserve Each Other, I loved that book. 5-starred it, it was great. I think it depends on the reason that the second chance romance is happening. If it's some sort of like, my partner cheated on me and we broke up and now we're getting back together, I'm kind of like, okay, I don't enjoy that much. But if it's some sort of like, we dated in high school, but these things happened, we grew apart, but now we found each other again, then that I'm like, yeah, cool, I can get down with it. So I think it just depends on how it's written. But for the most part, it doesn't turn me off. I will read it and most likely enjoy it. Okay, love triangle. Cute, I guess, because again, it's gotta be written correctly. Sometimes it's really annoying. For the most part, it's okay. I don't know if I've necessarily like off the top of my head, I might be wrong and contradicting myself, but off the top of my head, I can't think of like a book I've 5-starred that is necessarily a love triangle. Like they're okay. If it's there, I will read it. I won't immediately not buy a book because of it, but I will be a little cautious going into it, I think. Reverse harem. This might be kind of a hot take, but no. I have nothing against reverse harems. I have nothing against the trope. I just personally have not read any reverse harems that I've liked. I think the most recent one that comes to my mind is A Veil of Truth and Trickery. I bought it because I found the author on TikTok and she was really hyping the book out. I pre-ordered it, everything. You're interrupting my rant, Car. I hated the book. If you watched my last video, I mentioned how I liked smut books that add to the plot. I like smut books with plot. I don't want just smut for no reason. And that's what that book felt like to me. Like, I didn't feel like the tension between characters. It was just like smut. I have nothing against reverse harems. I really think I could like the trope if I found a book that I really liked that much. If you have reverse harem recommendations, send them my way, because I really think I could enjoy this trope. I just have not had good luck with the books that I've read so far. So that's my only issue. It's not a hard stop. I will consider it, but I'm just worried I'm gonna be disappointed again. Villain to lover. It's good. I feel like the only reason it's not God tier is because I don't think I've read that trope that much. And like, I think it kind of depends on your definition of villain to lover, if you consider that enemies to lovers. So I'm gonna put it there because I think I'm not quite sure what exactly is considered what. Like, to me, villain to lover and enemies to lovers kind of seem like the same thing. I'm gonna put it there. Moving on. Insta love. Hard stop, hard pass. I need the pining, I need the groveling, I need loving from a distance. Me personally, I don't think insta love is realistic in the real world, so it doesn't read realistic to me in a book world. And it makes me disappointed. I have DNF'd a lot of insta love books. If I find out it's insta love, I will not purchase it. I will not read it. If I find out it's insta love while reading it, 90% of the time, I'm gonna DNF it. So don't come to me for insta love recommendations. Get out of here with that. Go somewhere else. But also, I love you and stay. Childhood friends to enemies to lovers. Depends on how it's written. It can get sticky, kind of like love triangles, and can get kind of annoying if it's not written well. But for the most part, I like it a little bit more than just normal childhood friends to lovers. Something like Love in Other Words, childhood friends to lovers. It's like they just grew up and didn't see each other for a while and then saw each other again and were in love. Like, there wasn't necessarily any like drama with it. Like, there was at the end, but like, I don't want to say nothing bad because it was bad, but like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I feel like childhood friends to enemies to lovers adds so much more to the plot line than just friends to lovers. Right person, wrong time. I feel like I don't read a lot of it because it makes me sad. I have nothing against it, I guess. If somebody's like really hyping a book up and that's what it is, I'll give it a chance, but I think I'd be scared that I wouldn't like it. Slow burn, God tier. I am a Mariana Zapata bitch. I love slow burns. They're some of the best. You get all the angst, all the buildup, all of the stuff that I love. And then anytime the smut happens, it's that much better. And I adore slow burns with my whole heart. Soulmates. Cute, I guess. I think it depends. I feel like I've said that so many times. It depends on how it's written. If it's insta-lovey, I'm not gonna like it. If it's a friends to lovers thing, I might like it a little bit more. So I think it just depends on the context. Again with the motorcycle, my guy. Chill out, bro. Don't you have something to do? Go read a book. Subscribe to me and find a book you like. That's why I'm doing these videos. Get off your motorcycle, you heathen. Amnesia. I think the most recent book that I read with the whole amnesia thing is The Lost Fisherman. The first book I didn't like because it was kind of creepy. The characters, like, our main character girl was like freshly 18 and was in love with this adult man. And so like, it was really pushing the limit of like, let's make this bare minimum legal. And I'm not necessarily a fan of that. And then there's an amnesia situation and they fall in love as actual adults. So like, I liked this. I don't know what made me want to read the second book, but I did. But like, I like the second book better because it was less creepy than like a freshly 18-year-old girl. So I think that book alone made me kind of want to move it from cute, I guess, to no, maybe. So yeah, opposites attract. God tier, because to me, that trope is kind of like an umbrella for stuff like Grumpy Sunshine. And I love a Grumpy Sunshine. Grumpy Sunshine is elite. I love it. Similarities attract. No, because I don't think I've personally read a lot of things where it's like similarities attract, because again, I think that just kind of a small minuscule trope in things like friends to lovers. People are friends usually because they have similarities. Converting the playboy playgirl can be really good. I think my most recent example of that would probably be Hook, Line, and Sinker. It's kind of the premise of that whole book, and I was a big fan of that book. Fox is definitely the playboy of the story. I feel like I haven't necessarily read that many me where it's a Playgirl situation, and I would be interested in it. I think that could be kind of entertaining. So if you have recommendations for that, send them my way. I think that's why I put it there, because I don't necessarily know if I've read any with the girl situation, but I definitely read it with guys and I enjoyed it. Incest Scare, no thank you, get out of my house, arrest them please. If this is a god tier trope for you, I genuinely have questions. I genuinely don't understand you. I'm kind of concerned for you and your mental health. I get that books are fiction and like they're there for an escape. That doesn't seem like an area people should want to escape to. Seems weird to me. Don't want it. Yeah, moving on. Unrequited Love, cute I guess. Depends on how it's written. Can be annoying, can be disappointing. It depends. Age gap, cute I guess, depends on how it's written. Like as I mentioned with the Lost Fisherman, it was like a freshly 18-year-old girl and a little adult. Sometimes it's weird. My personal favorite age gap is with the Zodiac Academy series. What the heck is up with these motorcycle people today? Jesus, you're gonna make my video 20 minutes long because you won't stop driving by my house. Stop. Find a different road. I'm so angry, why? But with the Zodiac Academy series, it's like a student-teacher thing, but like that exact situation, it's like 18-year-old student, but the professor's like in his early 20s. It's not like a 60-year-old professor man. So like it seems less weird because like it's an age gap, but it's like, I feel like I'm contradicting myself from my Lost Fisherman rant, but it depends on how it's written. Sometimes it's really creepy and sometimes it's less creepy. Secret Identity. How do I feel about Secret Identity? Depends on how it's written. I feel like that's how most of these are, but I think that depends on how it's written. I don't know if I can necessarily think of an example for that right now. What comes to mind for me is Hopeless by Colleen Hoover, but like, I don't necessarily know if that counts as Secret Identity. I don't want to spoil it, but like, if you've read the book, I don't necessarily know if that counts as Secret Identity, or something like Too Late by Colleen Hoover that I recently read, which was terrifying, and don't touch it unless looking at trigger warnings. That book is, I want to know what was going through Colleen Hoover's head when she wrote that book. But I really just think it depends on the context to what the secret identity is. Yeah, so that is all of the tropes that I could think of this time. I think there's definitely a lot more. A lot of times I kind of generalized, like enemies to lovers includes all these things. You could get microscopic with everything when it comes to books. In my head, that is what I have come up with. In conclusion, you can come to me for anything from cute I guess to god tier for recommendations. No, feel free to send me recommendations. And no, I will not be giving you those recommendations on my own terms. If I recommend you a book that has that trope in it, it's because I was bamboozled and didn't know that trope was in it until the end of the book after I already read it. And I was disappointed at that point. Those are my thoughts and opinions. Thoughts and opinions? What? What did I just say? Those are my thoughts and opinions. Again, you like what you like at the end of the day. I'm not going to harshly judge you for it. If you want to try and convert me from one that I hard passed into maybe an no or a cute I guess, go for it. It might not work, but if you want to try, go for it. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you want to follow me anywhere on my social medias, they will all be linked in the description box, as well as on my home screen channel banner. Also down below will be my Amazon wishlist if you guys want to send me any books that are on there. There's maybe some of these tropes hidden in there that I don't know about. So if it's something you think I might enjoy or might convert me, send them my way because I might not know about it. Or if it has a pregnancy trope in it or something, DM me so I can take it off my list. Also down below will be my PangoBooks if you want to buy mine or other people's secondhand books. It's a cheaper way of filling up your TBR. But yeah, I love and appreciate you guys so much. I hope to see you again next week. And yeah, stay safe, and I will see you guys somewhere else on the internet. Bye.